Hello, I'm Lawrence W. Moore here at Digging Cat Homestead, and as usual, my wife, Liza Sahido, is on the camera. And I'm standing in front of our little sugarcane plot. Here we have some rows of sugarcane that we planted several weeks ago, and they've been shooting up. Before filming, we did use a string mower that's for weed whacking and so forth, and we went down the middle of them and edged them a little bit, and I did some pulling of grass close to them, and we just dropped it to feed the soil. What I plan to do is to use my leaf mulcher. I have a leaf mulcher with an attachment bag, and basically I can go to areas of the property where there's like large piles of leaves or buildup of leaves, and vacuum them up and then spread them on the ground here, at first around the canes themselves, and as I build up more down the trenches in between, so we get a good soil coverage that will help keep the grass from photosynthesizing. So we basically are kind of like suppressing the grass at that point, as well as weeds, and let the sugar canes come through. And so that's our plan with this. We have a sprinkler here that's set for this range, and it waters them very well. That allows me time to use the hose to water other things. But in any case, they seem to be doing pretty well. And next to some of them, my wife has put in pumpkins. These are a Cuban variety of pumpkin called calabaza over the floor. Here they're started, and we'll just let the vines go this way, try and coax them this way, and get some coverage over the ground. So when I put the leaf mulch in, they'll go under the vines, and the vines can grow out over them. But basically we want to turn this into a sugar cane and calabaza growing area, and it's still in the beginning stages, but as you see, the sugar cane's coming up pretty well. We're growing sugar cane to get sugar. Not that we use sugar, we avoid sweets pretty much, but it's good for fermenting things. We do drink homemade kefir every day, although I guess that's pronounced kefir. Yeah, kefir. We just call it kefir. I mean, it's a habit hard to break. But we drink that pretty much every day. It's a good source of lactobacillus for gut health. And basically after the fermentation process, it's not sweet anymore because the kefir crystals have eaten the sugar and produced the lactobacillus. And also my wife is looking into maybe making some of her own rum just for fun. We'll see how that works out.
It's gonna be awesome.
Okay. Here I am back at our garden. A few weeks ago when we started this series, we started here, so we wanted to show the progress. But anyway, here's our kale section. Here we have, these are the dinosaur kale. We got to keep up with the weeding, but as we don't use any kind of pesticides or herbicides, yeah, we're pure organic, so we're going to have a lot more weeds to pull. Some of the weeds are wood sorrel, which you can really see on this side. Wood sorrel is kind of like the clover-like green that you see almost all over the bed. We've let that go because that's edible, and it has this nice lemony taste. So anything that is a weed that is edible, we'll let it go wherever it finds itself. This came here naturally. Mostly what we pull here is grass. Some of the grass next to the beds, gets up tall and gets the seeds on it, and some of that can blow over into the beds, so we have to constantly pulling out grass. What I'm going to try to do is put leaf mulch on top of the beds, and that'll help suppress weeds a bit. In this, I'm letting the wood sorrel get big and strong enough that I can work the leaf mulch around it, and then hopefully we'll have a little less weeding to do. It will also feed the bed over time. It's basically like a mulch layer. This one here,
Yeah.
it flopped over, so we had to prop it up with a pole. I think one of the things is, because these raised beds were placed on top of cardboard. Basically, after moving, we took a lot of cardboard boxes, laid it across the ground to cover the grass that was here, and then we put the raised beds on top, put soil in the raised beds, and we've heard that basically over time that cardboard becomes almost like a clay layer, and the roots of the kale plant, rather than going straight down, are going to the sides more, and so they can be more prone to leaning over. I might, as we get kale that when we decide to harvest the whole plant, like when it gets towards the end of its production and its lifespan, when taking it out, we'll mark that spot and also maybe make a hole down below to break up that clay layer, so that now we don't have any fear of any of the grass that was there previously growing up through. It's new grass that comes in by seed, but basically by making that hole, hopefully we'll get stronger stems, or almost like trunks with these things now.
Hopefully we'll have worms soon to do that job.
Yeah, we've noticed in some beds here and there we are getting worms, because we do use worm castings from our hungry bin. We have a hungry bin where we are raising worms, and when we put some of their castings in, you can get some worm eggs in there, and then you could start popping their beds with worms. But we haven't seen a lot yet. Back here we have our 2 eggplants, and so they've been producing for us already.
A lot.
And as you see, there's like 4 eggplants at least, and we're going to harvest that one that's touching the ground. We just wanted to get it on camera first before we harvest it. But yeah, these 2 plants here that are kind of like merged to one have been producing a lot for us already.
Yeah, we've been eating a lot of eggplant.
Yep.
They're very productive.
And over here we have sweet potatoes, and Liza's been going through and trying to train the vines in the direction of that way. But anytime she sees a slip that she can cut and plant, she'll cut it and plant it and try and fill up the other side. But as you see, they've been doing real well, and if you compare it to our previous video and showing the garden, it's a big difference, because now a lot of the beds are starting to get full coverage. Now if they start going outside the beds,
we gotta eat them, the leaves.
Yeah, because sweet potato leaves, now don't do this with regular potato leaves, but sweet potato leaves are edible. So that's what we'll be doing with that. And as this gets more productive, we're going to open up some more of our regular land outside of the raised bed area to grow sweet potatoes, maybe more cane and corn and stuff. Little by little, we're going to expand the use of our natural land, especially now that we've been kind of like building up the soil. So as we go back here, these are some things I added. As we get into the summer, pretty much there's only a few things that you can plant in the summer itself and start them, and one of them is beans. So we have 4 black beans on this side. I put up these tomato cages for them to grow in, because they're primarily bush beans, but I've noticed in the past some of them start binding a little bit, so I want to have some support for them. Towards the end of the summer, that's when they're really going to start getting stronger and bigger. As we go further back here, we have some arugula. Now these are arugulas that we pretty much left alone to self-seed and everything. Their time is really going to be coming up more in the fall.
Oh, we also have the omega-3 king in there, sharing space with the arugula.
Oh yeah, we have verdolaga, also known as purslane in English. It's basically also an edible weed. So when we see purslane in here, we leave it alone, so the arugula and the purslane grow together there. Over here, this is an herb bed that's really exploding. Rosemary and mint primarily. So the mint's all around the edge and the rosemary's in the middle, and looks like we got plenty of herbage that we can be harvesting for things.
I gotta make incense.
Our mustard greens worked out pretty well. Here's where they are. They're looking pretty good. Every now and then you'll see in our beds some garlic. We like to put garlic in as many beds as we can. It doesn't interfere with the other plants, and it helps keep some things away because of the strong scent. So we'll be chopping on these soon. We'll let at least one go to seed and reuse those seeds. We like to reuse the seeds that come from our own plants because, you know, that's a sign that came from a plant that was successful in our soil with what we're doing, and that's a good thing to use. And over here are older radishes. This one went to seed already. It caught us off guard. We don't really need more radish seeds, but
they're there.
But since, well, it's mostly still flower, but the seed pods are probably starting to develop, so we might as well get them. The radish seeds we have already are from our own garden, and they pretty much germinate like that. You can rely on them. You see some are younger, some are older because we pick them and then replace them with a seed after we pick them. Now we have ginger here. This is the bed we've been growing ginger in for, I think, 3 seasons now. You know, every spring the rhizomes that we leave in the ground come up, and of course we harvest, you know, hopefully in a balance where we leave enough rhizomes in to grow up next season, and then take out some for our use. And so it's been a pretty reliable crop here of ginger. To the side over here we have onions. We give them haircuts now and then because the leaves are edible. Over here we have turmeric.
Finally.
Yep, we found the solution to that. I mean, we had no problem growing it in Miami, but we found here it just needed more watering. It is warm enough to grow turmeric here in North Florida. We just need to make sure it gets plenty of water. Now there's also weeds spread across here that I'm going to have to pick. We did some weeding before the video, but we didn't get through the whole garden because we want to keep these videos coming up on a weekly basis. So once again, I'm going to need to put leaf mulch on top of these beds to try and help suppress the weed growth in the future. But you got to let the plants that you are growing get big enough that you're not covering them. These Lowe's buckets here with tomato cages. I used to grow tomatoes in these, but we had, you know, difficulties with tomatoes, so Liza's put in other things. Some of the buckets have corn, some of it has mouse melon. Yeah, over here we have some potatoes going. This was supposed to originally be an eggplant bed, but the potatoes kind of like are happening, so we're going to go with that.
Those are organic potatoes that started sprouting in the refrigerator, so we put them in as an experiment. It worked out.
Yep. And so we're good with that. Over here I'm trying something new, but I planted some Malabar spinach and just kind of with twine made a bit of netting for it to grow on. Malabar spinach is something that can be grown in the hot summer. It's not really spinach. It's a vining plant. I think it's Vietnamese in origin. And so they will eventually vine on this. But yeah, this is our Grandmaster collard. This is going to be the supplier of seeds for us in the future. The seeds have not gone dry yet. We hear it's best to let the seed pods dry out on the plant and then harvest them. So we're waiting for that to happen. So after we get these seeds, we're going to grow from these, and we should get stronger collards. Although we have some growing here, although the thing that's more productive here right now is the passion fruit. So the passion fruit is growing here in this bed. Back here are the bean trellises, well, pea and bean trellises that I put in. And we do have some black beans coming up in the middle of them. So anyway.
Crab apple.
Okay, so this is the one you want me to eat.
No.
Yes.
ripe crab apple, and we're gonna try it on camera and tell you what it tastes like.
Yeah, well, these crab apples here are
Maybe.
to help with the what do you call it? The breeding of the other apples we have in the area.
They can pollinate any type of apple tree.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm gonna try one. Tastes like an apple.
Let me see.
Tastes like a regular apple, just small.
Cute little seeds. Oh no. Oh no. They are sweet but tart.
Mm-hmm.
These are perfect for apple cider.
You know, this isn't the first time a wife asked her husband to eat an apple off a tree.
Yes.
All right, well, thank you for joining us this week. More to come. Please check out some of Liza's videos on Digging Cat Homestead about mead making, ferments, and all sorts of other homesteading activities, foraging. And check out her other channel, Psyche Electroacoustic Opera Company. It's listed in the featured channels section, and that's where she's making cigar box guitars right now.
Oh yeah.
I have the Wayfarer project, where I have my music, multimedia art, and some tutorials on multimedia art technology. And I have the Wayfarer Project Adventures, where I get into some gaming. Right now I'm playing Solace Crafting, and it's a cool RPG fantasy adventure game. Been enjoying it. Open world, open sandbox, you got to use your mind. So that's the only kind of games I like. But anyway, farewell, stay free, and take care.